You're listening to the Fan Club Podcast, where two polar opposites experience each other's fandoms for the very first time.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to Season 2 of the Fan Club Podcast. My name is Sarah.
This is Matthew.
And today we are covering Knives Out.
Yes.
Directed by Rian Johnson.
I am making an Instagram for my jerky and my seasoning.
It's smithandco.spices on Instagram.
Yes, Smith & Co. Spices or smithandco.spices. There isn't anything up yet.
Working on it.
We are working on it. I am working on the logo. I'm trying to figure out a business side of Instagram.
If you are interested at all in buying his product, then
shoot me a message either on the fan club or on my business Instagram, and it will be tied. There will be a link in the description down below. It's not going to be in our link tree, but the link will be in the description. I am selling my seasonings. I make beef, pork, and chicken. And eventually I will be introducing a fish and two pizzas. A spicier pizza seasoning and a more classic pizza seasoning. More like the pizza seasoning you get from Domino's, and then a more spicier with a kick. Because some people like a spicier pizza.
So if you're interested at all in buying Matthew's seasonings, they're really good. They're like, he tinkers with them constantly and
trying to perfect the recipes.
And so if you're interested at all in any of them, they have a billion different applications, not just what's on the jar.
Yes.
And so if you're interested at all, let us know, and we'd be glad to work out some kind of shipping deal for you.
Yes. Normally it's 1 for $10 or 3 for $25.
I don't think I've ever seen a Rian Johnson movie. Because I've never seen Star Wars.
Did he do the new? No, J.J. Abrams did the new.
No, he did the forgive me, listeners, I know nothing about Star Wars. I'm pretty sure he did, like, Rise of Skywalker.
I thought that was J.J. Abrams.
He did the one that... No, he did Last Jedi. The one that everybody hated. And then he also...
You sure?
Yeah. He also did, if I'm not mistaken, he did... I don't think he actually did it, but he, in universe, Stab 8 in the Scream franchise is directed by Rian Johnson. Huh. In universe. He didn't actually direct those clips, but in universe, he directed Stab 8.
Okay. In Scream.
Which is, like, a meta reference to the fact that people don't historically like Rian Johnson movies.
Yeah.
But this is the first movie that, well, I guess Clue technically, but that is a wholly original idea, doesn't have any source material. Clue is technically based on the game.
Yeah.
But Knives Out is wholly original, which is so freaking rare these days. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of people dislike Rian Johnson, but this movie is so incredibly crafted.
Yes.
And so subtle in the way that it's crafted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I also just really like it from a film nerd cinematography perspective, too.
Like, there was times where it would bring anxiety, like...
Well, like, I have hardly any notes from the third act, because I was just, like, watching so intently.
Yeah, you were like, what's going on? What just happened?
Because it's so rapid fire, and it's so,
kind of like how Clue was, at the, like...
It did kind of feel, not in the same way, but it felt similar to those scenes in Clue where they're running from room to room.
But it was Blanc saying what happened.
But what I really appreciate about this movie is the way that it is, because in film they say, like, show, don't tell.
Yeah. Because
they don't want just, like, a giant info dump in the middle of a movie. But this movie shows and tells.
Yes.
Which I really like, because it's like the narration while you're watching it happen.
This movie really only takes place over 2-3 days. Like, 2 days max. Maybe 3.
I think the whole event happens a week after.
Yeah, or I'm saying, like, everything that we see, like, the entire movie.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, the movie takes place over the course of a week. But everything that's, like, the pertinent information.
Yeah.
Is, like, in a 2-day span, 3-day span.
Because I have seen Glass Onion, he has not, and...
I love Knives Out, but I like Craig, I like Chris Evans. I like a bunch of people in it.
I just think that the first one is so much better, like, far and away, than the second one.
Yes. I just find it funny how, like, Chris Evans went from being Captain America, this all, like, not self-righteous, but you know
like,
what
even
I mean.
just, like, the scene where he's, you know, swearing at everybody, it's like...
Yeah, like, this is Captain America! And then...
Yeah.
Daniel Craig went from playing James Bond, a serious spy, not making a lot of jokes,
to almost, like, silly and sarcastic.
Yeah, to a...
Silly is not the right word.
To a sarcastic Kentuckian Southern drawl. And this dude is British beyond British.
He's apparently... Benoit Blanc is apparently inspired by a real-life detective
Yeah.
from Kentucky.
Yeah.
Like, maybe not the character, but definitely the voice.
Yeah. But also, a lot of people from Kentucky sound like that. Sorry if you're from Kentucky. But you know what I mean.
I found the accent incredibly distracting.
Yes. I think that was supposed to be a part of it to, like... Because, I mean, think, like, a lot of people don't, like... Would you take someone seriously with, like...
Well, the issue for me was that, like, okay, I watch everything with subtitles on it, but regardless, because I'm ADD, and I need it, but I especially needed it with his dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I looked away from the TV when I was writing a note, when he was talking, I had a hard time understanding what he was saying.
Like, there was something with the closed captions that caught me off guard that I never because I don't watch stuff with closed captions. I normally don't.
It helps me. I frequently will, like, read books with an audiobook playing because it helps me.
So,
like, with
if you remember
retention.
at the end when Chris Evans was saying this is, like, stupid with 2 O's, closed
Yeah.
caption spelled it with 2 O's.
Yeah, closed caption is out here wild and
Like,
sometimes.
Like, that caught me off guard because I also, the only time I ever do closed captions is in games.
I do really like that this movie paid homage to things like Clue. Like, I got real Clue vibes from The House.
Mm-hmm.
I think it paid homage to just, like, old school detective. I will say my one gripe about this movie
is what? Let's see if this is a legitimate gripe or if this is just a Sarah gripe.
I didn't love the, I feel like this movie almost dated itself. I wish that it was a little more timeless.
I mean, it's also in 2019, so I mean...
But, like, there's uses of smartphones, and there's references to, like, Toni Collette's character being an influencer, and, like...
Yeah, but this was also 2019.
That's fine, but I think the movie maybe would have been a little more immersive had it been timeless.
But you could still say that for today. There's still people... There's still self...
No, the technology isn't necessarily dated. It's more, it'll be dated. It's
15 years.
It's a very 2010s movie. In that regard. And,
yeah.
And I don't think murder mysteries, realistically...
I mean, there also haven't been that many murder mystery movies.
No, I know, but I feel like a lot of murder mysteries...
Or good ones, at least.
I feel like a lot of murder mysteries kind of err on the side of timeless, which is why people love them. For centuries. Yeah. For not centuries, but, like... Decades.
Yeah.
And...
Like Clue. But Clue is absolutely dated. With, like...
Yeah, but, like, I feel like it's almost dated in a fantastical sense.
Knives Out... When did Knives Out come out? I know it was 2019, but I think it was, like, at the end of the year. Get back to Knives Out.
So, like I said, Knives Out was released in September 2019 and written and directed by Rian Johnson. Again, I think he is... I know that, like, historically he hasn't had, like, a great track record, but frankly, I think he needs to do more murder mysteries.
I think he does Glass Onion.
I'm pretty sure he did too, but I said this to Matthew earlier, I just think Knives Out was such a lightning in a bottle kind of movie that I don't think they recaptured with Glass Onion, personally. I don't think the cast worked nearly as well as the cast in Knives Out.
Yeah. But also, Knives Out was a family. It wasn't a bunch of random people.
Yeah, there was the built-in, like, chemistry, but I just also think just the actors worked really well off of each other in a lot of those party sequences and things like that. So, we start off, we see this old, creepy manor house that's very, like, a la Clue.
Yes. And
we see, like, 2 big dogs, again, a la Clue. Go check out our Clue episode from last week. And I really love the little notion of, like, the dogs are, like, the dogs know, like,
everyone,
and, like, they're only good to the people that are good to them. They kind of clue the audience into who we should be rooting for and who we shouldn't be.
I mean, in all honesty, I would not root for anyone in that family besides Marta.
So meet Mr. Harlan Thrombey.
Yes.
And I really love this intro scene of Fran, the housekeeper, kind of bringing up his coffee, and, like, the way that it almost gives you a tour of the house, like, through her perspective.
I mean, that's how they did it with Clue.
Yeah, but I love the way that each corner of the house is shot, and it feels, this is a really dumb comment, but it feels really cinematic.
I would hope it would feel cinematic. It's a cinema.
But
it's a cinematic movie.
The colors that they chose for the set, the way that each shot is framed, I think is really clever.
Mm.
I don't know. I just, cinematically and cinematography wise, I think this movie is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I think
because every room felt like it was its own. It didn't.
I imagine they probably shot this in an actual house.
More than likely, yes. But, like, you know what I mean? Like, in Clue, it felt like, yes, Clue was done in a single house. Yes.
I think Clue is a set. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure.
No, I think it was a house because you see all four sides to every room.
I think it was like a soundstage.
Maybe, but the house was built. No, because you see them running upstairs and you see them running into different things. So I think it was a house.
Editing Sarah here. So the house from Clue, the interior scenes were filmed at the Paramount lot, and the exterior scenes were filmed on location at a mansion in South Pasadena, California.
You know, like in most houses where it feels like every room is just a carbon copy of the other?
Well, and I liked that it clearly feels like, they don't actually say the setting.
Where each room has its own.
They don't actually say
feel.
Where the house is located, but it definitely feels realistic that this is like an old manor house in the Northeast.
Yeah, like that's what I was going to say. Like in, way north New York or Maine or something.
Connecticut even.
Yeah.
Massachusetts.
It was winter because they were all wearing, like, heavy coats.
It's a very New England-y feeling
area.
House.
And, like, the town, like, during the car chase later, felt really New England, like, small town New England.
Very. And sometimes I like when they establish, like, where we are, and sometimes I'm like, I kind of like that we left it open for interpretation.
Let me see if there's anything on, like, any subreddit.
Basically, Fran walks in and he is dead. And then we flash to Marta waking up a week later. And Marta is Mr. Thrombey's nurse.
Yeah.
And I don't know how old Marta is supposed to be.
20s.
But, like, nursing school takes, like, 3 years. Like, it's like a graduate degree, basically.
So, Knives Out. The exterior of the house was filmed at a mansion located in Natwick, about 17 miles west of Boston.
Yeah, that tracks.
The Ames Mansion in Borderland State Park, Massachusetts, was used for a lot of the interior shots.
Yeah,
So, yeah, it was an actual house.
That tracks.
So, it's...
But I liked how each room was very... Each room almost had its own character.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all the decor, all of the wallpaper, the paintings on the wall were very old world. Like, this is clearly this older man's personal collection of decor.
Yeah, so, Johnson, the director, he cited several classic mystery thrillers and mystery comedies as influence for the movie, including The Last Sheila, Murder on the Oriental Express, Something's Afoot, Murder by Death, Death on the Nile, Private Eyes, Mirrors Cracked, Evil Under the Sun, Death Trap, Clue, and Gosford Park.
Oh, it's inspired by all of those?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see that. I mean, I haven't heard of most of them. I do know that Rian Johnson loves Agatha Christie novels.
Yeah.
So, but I can definitely see, Like, cause there's a scene where somebody is watching Murder, She Wrote.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Angela Lansbury.
So, after
it's Marta's mom is watching it in Spanish.
So, after making the 2005 film Brick, the writer and director Rian Johnson came up with a basic concept of Knives Out. In June 2010, he expressed interest in making an Agatha Christie-inspired murder mystery film. He told The Independent that he wanted to make the film after finishing Looper. That was an okay movie.
Is that the one with Bruce Willis and he time travels?
Yes. Bruce Willis and, what's his name?
JGL? Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
Yes. However, Johnson's next film project became Star Wars The Last Jedi. Johnson spent 7 months writing the script and finishing his press tour after Star Wars.
Yeah, he did not get, the Star Wars fans do not like Rian Johnson's.
Yeah. The name, or the title Knives Out came from a Radiohead song. It's just a phrase that stuck in his head and seemed like a great title for a murder mystery, and the name Harlan Thrombey was taken from a 1981 choose-your-own-adventure whodunit who killed Harlow Thrombey.
Yeah.
So he took a lot of inspirations from everything.
So we meet Marta, and then we go to the Thrombey's home, and we meet Meg, played by... I know her as Hannah Baker from 13 Reasons Why, but her name is Kathleen Langford. But I was like, oh, it's Hannah Baker.
Yeah.
Like, that show is terrible. Please don't watch it. And then we immediately meet Linda, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, who is the eldest daughter of Harlan.
Yes. So, I'm just going down the Wikipedia for Knives Out. Daniel Craig was the first to be announced. He helped make, or not helped make the movie, but helped find people.
Needlessly Nerdy, your source for all things nerdy.
www.needlesslynerdy.com.
Announced with Daniel Craig starring. It was sold to during the 2018 Toronto International Film Festival. In October of the same year, Chris Evans, Lakeith Stanfield, Michael Shannon, Ana de Armas, Don Johnson, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Toni Collette.
Toni Collette.
Yeah.
She's Joni.
Okay. They were all introduced in October 2018 that they were going to be in it, and in November of the same year, Christopher Plummer,
Rest in peace.
Yeah. Jaden Martell, Catherine Langford, Ricky Lindholm, and Eddie Patterson joined the cast. So literally in a 3-month span, they said everyone that was going to be in it. Which, that's not uncommon, but that's not common.
I got the impression they wanted Chris Evans in this movie more, but obviously he had MCU obligations.
No. By the time this movie came out, he was done with it. September of 2019.
He had to have been filming Endgame when he was filming this, though. Or do you think he was done?
Usually a Marvel movie is done for about a year before it's released. Like, several months before the movie gets about a year, they're done acting it, and it's in the edits, and it's
Chris Evans is the first MCU actor we are seeing post MCU, because we get Dave Bautista in Glass Onion.
True. So yeah, for our podcast, he is the first MCU to be in another IP that we've talked about.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very large cast. I imagine it'll happen quite a lot.
Okay, guys, I need your help to convince Sarah here to have us do the Super Mario movie. I want to cover it on the podcast so bad.
I remember in middle school, I got roped into watching the god-awful originals, and I'm just dreading.
It's made by Illumination.
Plus, there's something about the fact that Chris Pratt, of all people, is voicing Mario that just, gets under my skin, and I don't know why.
So, Chris Pratt is Mario. Charlie Day, which, if you've seen Sunny with a Chance, or, not Sunny with a Chance, it's all...
It's a Demi Disney show!
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He's in that. It has Anya Taylor-Joy.
Or if you've ever seen the meme of,
the wall with, all the papers and the
red lines.
red lines. Yes, that's Charlie Day. He's Luigi. It has Anya Taylor-Joy as Princess Peach. It has Jack Black.
This movie could either be really good or terrible.
It's Illumination. It's going to be good.
They're responsible for the Minions. Okay, they unleashed the Minions on us.
What is wrong with the Minions? What is wrong with the Minions?
They are a cancer on this society.
But the dude who made the Minions language.
Why will the Minions not die?
They've been around since the dawn of time. If you watch the Minions movie...
No, I'm just saying.
If you watch...
I know a Minions-related IP has not come out for like a decade, and yet there's still Minion merch.
Because the Minions
I think I've talked about this before.
Because the Minions are the Illumination's, like, mascot.
It's the same reason why...
Like, you know, like how, like the Luxor balls, like,
I have nothing...
Pixar's?
I want to say right off the bat, I have nothing against the movie Frozen. But it's the same reason why Frozen stuff is still so popular.
Mm-hmm.
Because it makes money.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the Minions, their language is literally English, Spanish, French, and German. Is their language.
I know.
That's how you can understand what they say. And this is completely off topic.
If I have enough people being like, "Sir, you need to cover it." If I have enough interest, sure, I'll suffer through that.
I need every single person to blow up our Instagram to say you want the Super Mario Illumination movie. Okay,
anyway,
but let's get back to the...
So there's clearly some beef with Ransom, aka Chris Evans. Something about him in a cable knit sweater feels weird to me.
I mean, he was wearing a turtleneck in Winter Soldier, wasn't he?
I think it's just because I just, like... I'm used to him in like, a t-shirt and jeans or his Captain America outfit. Like, I'm not used to... and then we meet Walt, who runs the publishing company.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also meet Joni, who's played by Toni Collette, who is basically, like, an influencer. She's very Gwyneth Paltrow-y.
I thought the influencer was the daughter.
No. The daughter is, like, the SJW.
Mm.
Which, by the way, we're going to skim over some of the more political tones of this movie because this is not what our podcast is about.
Yeah, our podcast is about comedy and having fun and not...
There are some themes that we are going to have to touch on, but I want to skim over some of the more overtly political things.
Yeah.
So, if that pisses you off, I'm sorry.
We try to avoid politics on here.
We just want to keep it friendly and keep it light.
Yes.
And, like I said, we will probably touch on some subtleties.
Yeah, but we're not
going to go deep into it.
No, we're not going to talk about our own views or anything like that on it. We're just talking about it from the movie as a whole.
Right off the bat, I got this, like, pretentious fakeness from her.
Yes. I mean, the entire family has potential fakeness. I don't remember. How's Joni related to the family?
She's the daughter-in-law. She's the one of the sons died. And, so, like, Meg's father.
That's right.
So she married into the family. She's, like, the widow.
Yes.
But the only reason she's still around is because they share a child. And then, Richard, Jamie Lee Curtis's husband, is getting interviewed, he makes a reference to Hamilton. He says, immigrants, we get the job done. Which is I love the Hamilton reference.
I don't think it was supposed to be a...
No, he literally says, like, oh, I saw it before it was on Broadway.
Oh. Okay.
And he, which is another kind of layer to, because it's very much like, I liked it before it was cool, kind of comment, but also, it's a very subtle dig at, like, him and the rest of the family not really understanding immigration.
Yeah.
Again, not a thing I really want to discuss and get into, but...
Yeah, we're just talking about it from the movie's perspective, not our own.
So it's just, I really like how they very subtly telegraph each person's character traits. Mm-hmm. Similar to how they telegraph the character traits of the folks in Get Out, the white folks in Get Out. Mm-hmm. There's very subtle lines in that movie that are very telling when you see the whole picture.
Yes. I still need to watch that movie.
I didn't love it, like some people do.
I have not seen any of
Jordan Peele's
movies.
I've heard the new Keke Palmer movie, Nope, is getting some pretty good praise.
Mm-hmm. But it also has Keke Palmer.
Yeah.
But, I love Jordan Peele from Key and Peele.
I like him in Toy Story 4.
Mm-hmm. Because that's Key and Peele.
Anyway,
Bunny and Ducky.
So then we figure out that Harlan so pretty much fires Walt because Walt wants to like sell the movie. Basically, Harlan writes a bunch of like mystery novels.
Mm-hmm.
And Walt
every room of his house is based off of one of his novels.
Walt wants to sell the movie rights, but that's not something that Harlan really ever wanted to do because he didn't want to sell out.
No, he just wanted to create.
Yeah. And so basically Harlan is like, we're done. I
get Stephen King vibes from Harlem. Harlem Throbbing. Because it's like the old house in Maine.
He just wants to write for the joy of it, for the joy of creating the stories.
Kind of like Stephen King at the beginning, when he was first starting off.
I don't know a ton about... I've never read Stephen King at all.
Like The Shining, Carrie...
No, I know who he is. Yeah. But I haven't... I've seen Carrie, but that's about it.
The last Stephen King I read, I think, was Dr. Sleep. One of the more newer ones.
What I really love about this movie is the way that it's structured makes for fantastic misdirection.
Yes.
Because, so it's almost framed in a series of interviews.
At the beginning.
Yes. And everybody has, like, perfect example of this is every time somebody is telling a story of the night of the party.
You see it from their perspective.
They're the ones that are next to him when he's blowing out the cake.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are in front and center.
Yeah.
And so it's like an unreliable narrator situation.
Mm-hmm.
Which is great, especially in the beginning when you're first learning these characters.
I mean, kind of like what they say in SU, eyewitness accounts are never correct.
Yeah, because...
Or even in CSI or Criminal Minds, an eyewitness account is never...
Well, you're never going to get 100%.
Yeah. It's kind of like that...
But also, this entire family, it's telegraphed very early that everybody's kind of in for themselves.
Yeah. Besides Fran and Marta.
But Fran and Marta aren't... They're technically the quote-unquote help.
True.
So they're not in the family.
Yeah.
And at this point, I had no idea where it was going. And about a third into the movie, I thought I knew where it was going.
You thought you knew where it was going until it was announced what happened.
Yeah, which is a good thing. It'll be interesting to rewatch this movie and then kind of see...
I've tried. You don't see anything. I've tried so many times. I've rewatched this movie 5 or 6 times now.
The only thing that I think is the, which I'm about to talk about, is the baseball. Mm-hmm. The baseball tells the story of the affair.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't for the fact that the baseball is thrown out the window, Linda never would have known about the affair. Because he throws the baseball out the window after he finds the quote-unquote blank letter.
Yeah.
And the dogs pick up the baseball and bring it to Benoit.
Yeah.
And Benoit then, like, passes it off to somebody else. And Linda ends up getting it, putting it back where it should be, and she finds the letter.
I think he rethrew it. He rethrew it.
And then I think somebody else found it, and somehow ended up with Linda.
The dog gave it to Linda. It was, like, in the dog's mouth.
And so she never would have found the letter.
Yeah.
And so
But we're spoiling the end of the movie.
Yeah. I did think that when they initially showed the picture of the lady that Richard was having the affair with, because they initially showed, like, the back of her head, I was like, is that Marta? I was so wrong, obviously, because they end up showing her face.
Mm-hmm.
But...
That's not wrong. That's just absolutely wrong.
No, it's because I was writing a note while I was watching that scene, and so I missed it initially.
Ow.
So then we learn that Joni is using Meg's tuition money as an excuse to steal money, so she's almost like double dipping.
Yeah.
Because she's broke. is told by Harlan that he knows about the affair, and so Richard then tries to break into the desk, and all he finds is what he thinks are blank letters. Mm-hmm. But this is...
He's a mystery crime writer. You know that actually works, like, so he wrote it essentially with, like, lemon juice.
Well, it's the same thing that you see at the, when they do it in National Treasure. Yeah. When they find the map on the back.
Yep. They do lemon juice and then they heat it up.
Which I'm like, don't do that to a historical document. Let's not.
Yeah.
I wrote down that there's a reference to Clue in this scene. I did not write down what the reference was. Editing Sarah here. So the line from Benoit Blanc basically says that this whole thing is like an elaborate clue board. Sorry I didn't write the line down, but now you know. Yeah, and this is kind of where I really started noticing the distracting accent that Daniel Craig has. And we learn that when Marta lies, she throws up.
Yeah.
Which at first I was like, interesting character trait, but it does really come into play.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, so in the interview, Johnson explains how Blanc's deep southern accent was a detail he decided to include in the script. I figured out because he was going to be in New England to make him a fish out of water and maybe make the suspects in the case not take him seriously. The southern accent, which Craig modeled after Mississippi drawl of historian Shelby Foote, who could be interpreted as a reference to Perot, from Christie Agatha's novel.
So we learned that Blanc was hired by a mystery person. I initially had it pegged that Harlan hired him himself.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. Spoiler alert.
Oh. Gordon Levitt is in this movie also.
Yeah, he's the voice of one of the news reporters or something.
On the playing in the background of Marta's apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he's in every single one of Rian Johnson movies.
Yeah.
He's in every single one of them.
He's basically the Johnny Depp to the Tim Burton.
Yeah.
That was the best example I could come up with.
Not a bad...
I have a note here that says the sculpture of the knives is ... a choice.
What?
The sculpture of
I think that's a thing from one of his books.
I didn't notice this until I watched a Easter egg video, that the characters are always framed with this sculpture to the left until the end when Marta is framed dead center.
Yeah.
Like her head is framed like in the middle of it, which plays into the whole, like, she's the donut hole inside of the donut, which I hate that. So then we get the scene that I thought was like, this is really early for this reveal. So Marta and Harlan go up and play a game of Go, which I only know is a thing because of Spencer Reed from Colonel Wines.
Yeah.
I have no idea how to play it. It looks interesting. But I love their banter. It's very sweet.
Yes.
And very, like, he seems to, like, really genuinely respect her.
Yeah.
And I love that. And, so basically she gives him his meds and, accidentally mixes up his morphine and gives him, I don't know if 100 milligrams is a lot. I don't know anything about it. I'm allergic to morphine.
100 milligrams is a lot. Like, 100 milligrams, that's an easy way to OD on any medicine. Like,
I don't know, I'm allergic to morphine, so, like, it wouldn't kill me.
Most medicines are, like, 10 milligrams. And so you would have to, like, Benadryl, I think, is 5 milligram pill capsules, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a lot.
She doesn't have the antidote. And I was shocked that they were just planting seeds.
When, in any crime movie or show that we watch, when is the killer first introduced?
Well, it's because we just saw Scream 6, which I'm not going to spoil anything. Don't worry, it happens in like the first 2 minutes. But when guy who plays the Flash, or not the Flash, the guy who plays Flash,
in Spider-Man,
when he takes his mask off, I was like, what?
So, Stream 6's episode will be going up March 27th, and we're doing the new episode slightly differently for the new movies.
Just because we were unable to take notes in the theater, because I didn't want to be rude.
We are going to try to do a full synopsis like normal, but there might be some stuff missing, but we're going to do that in like a 2-parter episode.
But that's what it reminded me of, because I watched this movie after we had seen Scream 6, and I was like, because in that shot, I thought that we were going to,
it's a red herring.
I thought that we were, in Scream 6, I thought we were going to get the whole movie from, like, Ghostface's perspective.
I really wished
We'll get into it in the Scream 6 episode.
So, but, yeah, we'll talk more about it, but we're going to do, like, the first, 10 minutes would you say would be spoil-free?
Yeah.
Just, like, our review, and then afterwards will be spoils.
I thought it was really interesting the way that they did this in Knives Out, because the whole time you're on Marta's side. You're thinking that she killed him.
Not on her side, against her.
Well, yeah, but you're like, oh, you're waiting for them to, like, catch on to it. We learn that she does not have the antidote.
Yes.
And basically he then figures out, or we learn that her family is undocumented, so he doesn't want her to, like, get in trouble and her mom get deported and all that kind of stuff. And so he orchestrates his own suicide.
A lot of the beginning I don't remember.
I loved this scene of him telling her what she needed to do, and then it shows you on the screen.
I love movies like that.
It almost makes the characters themselves the narrators, if that makes sense.
Wasn't there a Marvel movie where they did that?
I think it was Endgame. It was like the time heist.
No. It wasn't the time heist.
I'm pretty sure it was like that scene where they went back to, the 70s and Tony meets his dad.
No, I'm not saying that.
Or it's almost reminiscent a little bit of the Louis stories from Ant-Man.
That's what I was thinking of. The Louis stories. Because, like, during the time heist, it wasn't them in modern time talking about, okay, we need to do this and that. Because we were seeing it from their perspective at that moment.
I think we're thinking of the Louis stories.
Maybe. Wasn't there another thing?
Olaf. But Olaf is more like he's acting everything out.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about Olaf. I'm talking about in the MCU. Not a true Disney IP. Mm-hmm. Not a movie made by Disney.
Disney Animation Studios.
Yes. Not the DAS.
I really like that they almost paint the old lady to be senile, so you don't really, like, take her seriously.
Like, I've rewatched this movie with, like, what we know from the ending, and you can't see any of that. So it's not like Clue, where you can sort of figure out...
I just wonder, because, okay, so one of the things during this scene is that she puts on Harlan's robe and hat and, like, sneaks downstairs to, like, let Walt know that, like, Harlan was still alive at that point in time. And I wonder if you watch that scene from Walt's perspective, if you can tell it's her.
I mean, I think they were about the same height.
But I imagine they shot that scene twice from 2 different angles.
Maybe.
The angle from Walt's perspective and then the angle from Marta's perspective.
Yeah, maybe.
Because I do think that this movie is clever enough to do that. There's a through line throughout this movie that nobody knows what country she's actually from. Yeah. They say Ecuador, Uruguay, Paraguay, Brazil.
Yeah, they say several.
Ana de Armas is Cuban.
Yes.
I just made the connection that she plays Marilyn Monroe in the Blonde movie, which is getting, like, terrible reviews. Yeah. Because it's incredibly graphic and really disrespectful to Marilyn, but whatever.
Yeah.
It didn't click for me.
Yeah.
Because Ana de Armas out of the blonde wig and out of the Marilyn makeup, doesn't look anything like Marilyn.
Yeah.
But I think she's one of those actresses that with a certain hairstyle and makeup and clothing, she really transforms.
Yes. Yes, she does.
And I interpreted her as much younger than I imagined she probably is.
I think she's in her mid-20s.
But,
I mean, you don't have to, for what Marta was doing, you don't have to go to nursing school, I don't think, for what she was doing.
They called her a registered nurse.
Oh, then, yeah.
My best friend is a nurse.
True.
And she had to do, 3 years of, pretty intensive school, at the same time she was doing her undergrad.
Yeah.
Check out our Spider-Man Homecoming episode where my best friend's on.
Yeah.
So then they go to view the security tape, and, fun fact about this, the guy that they originally wanted to play the security guy is, I can't remember exactly the guy's name, but he died before they could start production, and so they subtly included the picture of the original guy on the bulletin board.
Okay.
Which I think is cool. And basically Marta steals the magnet and scrambles the tape.
Yeah.
Then she purposefully messes up the footprints in the mud. She's very, quick on her feet. Ransom gets there, and he is a massive jerk.
Oh my gosh.
He is such a pompous, horrible, he's probably the worst of them all.
He's a trust fund baby. Through and
Oh,
through.
yeah.
With how he acts, how he talks, how he walks. And this was the first time, I knew it was Chris Evans, but I never really put, this was a completely different role for him than what he normally
Because Captain
plays.
America is so respectful and so buttoned up.
Yeah.
And so, proper. Perfect example, the language, the way that he speaks to the way that Cap speaks to everybody. Even during fights and stuff, he's still very noble, I guess is the best word to say.
Yes, he is.
So we learned that Ransom was cut out of the will, and,
just his whole demeanor, and as soon as he started, yelling at everyone, you were like, language, Captain America.
Yeah, he starts cussing everybody out.
And all we said was language. Just because of that one throwaway line.
And then Benoit Blanc goes upstairs and he finds dried mud on the carpeting.
Yes.
Next to that really cool, fake window. Or not fake, I guess it's not a fake window, but it's, the wall that hides the window. So then we learn that the entire will was left to Marta, including the house.
The house, the publishing company, everything.
The family is pissed.
Yes.
And she can't get her car to start.
I think because Randall did something.
Ransom.
I think Ransom did something.
And he gestures for her to, get into his car, which I'm at this point I was
just conveniently showed up at the same time.
At first I thought it was that Ransom was playing an act for the family, he was playing the jerk act, to I don't know, I didn't know what the game was, but, we later figure out that, no, he really is a jerk. He was just trying to play Marta because Marta is kind and gullible.
Yeah, because
they go to a diner, and this is actually really subtle, but he's not eating, but she is. Yeah. And he then, the second she's done eating, asks her to tell him the whole story, and he knows it's because she can't lie.
I don't think she does. I don't think he does.
No, it's very deliberate.
No.
He literally said, and you can't lie, you know that. And he deliberately fills her up. The family really wants Marta to give the inheritance back, and they have Meg try to reason with her, I guess. And the second I saw Meg on the phone, I was like, the whole family's behind her, isn't she?
Yeah.
Or aren't they?
Yeah. Because why would they just zoom in on her face?
Like, at first I was like, oh, Meg's really looking out for her.
That family does not look out for anyone but themselves.
I thought that she was actually looking out for Marta, but what started to clue me in was that multiple people said, like, sorry you couldn't be at the funeral, I was outvoted. Including Marta. Or not, including Meg.
No, Meg never did.
I thought she did.
No, it was just the
parents?
Yeah. It was just the brother and sister. The Jimmy Lee Curtis and the dude who owns the publishing company. Were the only ones.
Blanc then goes to the old lady. And this is, we think that the old lady is senile, so my first thought was...
Because she's Harlem's mom.
Yeah, my first thought was, he ain't gonna get nothing out of her.
Yeah.
But really, she tells him everything.
Yeah.
So then Marta gets a mysterious blank letter in the mail, like a blank envelope.
Mm-hmm.
And then we learn it's a basically photocopy of the toxicology report, but we don't, and it says like, I know what you did.
Yeah.
But we don't see the whole thing. We just see that it's a toxicology report. We don't actually see the results.
Yes.
And then we learned that the lab was burned down, so the person that's trying to blackmail them has the only copy.
Yeah.
So then she goes to the address that was emailed to her, and she finds Fran, and Fran's clearly been dosed with something.
The morphine.
And so she's desperately trying to save her. And then this is kind of where my notes get really sporadic, because the third act is kind of insane.
Literally everything happens in one
So
film.
she manages to have Fran stay alive long enough to get to the hospital. So they think that there's hope.
Yeah.
And she said, you did this. You did this.
Yeah.
And then, basically Benoit gives her the whole donut analogy. I think it's so stupid.
Which reminds me of a future movie that we're going to be covering.
What movie?
Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I know nothing about that movie.
Everything is a bagel. Everything is a bagel.
We have Everything Everywhere All at Once for the third week in August.
Remember bagels.
All I know is somebody has some weirdly long fingers and an eye in the middle of their forehead.
No, not weird fingers.
Hot dogs?
Hot dog fingers.
I know nothing about what this movie is about. I've heard it's getting incredible reviews.
It has won so many awards. Like the at the Oscars or Grammys or whatever.
Grammys is for music, Oscars is for movies.
She won the leading lady.
Michelle Yeoh.
Michelle Yeoh.
I think that's how you say your name.
I don't know. The aunt in Shang-Chi was the first Asian to win that award. Or the first female Asian to win that award.
Well, the Oscars are tonight.
Then
she's nominated.
It was another reward. It was another thing that she won for
SAG.
The SAG. She was the first SAG to win it. And that movie is nominated for so many awards in literally every category, for music, for design, costume design, for cinematography, it literally takes place in 2 buildings in the entire movie.
I'm excited to see it.
Literally,
but I know nothing.
The info for it.
I want to go in pretty blind because
the description of the movie. Literally says takes place in an IRS building. Is what it says.
This is where we get the entire
story. So, Marta tells Blanc everything from the get-go, and he knows she's telling the truth because she's not throwing up. And so he's like, I think this is a bad idea. You shouldn't tell the family. She's like, I need to. And as she's about to tell him or tell the entire family, he's like, You've all been mean to her. none of you deserve her, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he pulls her into the room with the knives chair, which reminds me of Game of Thrones.
It is a little bit Iron Throne-ish.
I think it's supposed to be...
we don't ever learn the plots of any of his stories. Really.
They talk about the different plots.
I do
It's
like,
all mystery movie. It's all like crime novels.
I do love... There's a line during the scene between Harlan and Marta, and...
Like, you can never go through life not knowing if a knife is real or fake.
No, it's like that,
something like that.
Ransom never knows if it's a prop knife or not. Something to that effect.
I don't think he said Ransom.
No, they're talking about Ransom.
Yeah. Okay.
And he says something along the lines of, like, he never knows the difference between a real knife and a prop one. Something like that. Which sounds like such a throwaway line.
Yeah.
But it is so good, and I don't know. We then learn that Ransom did everything and, like, basically was trying to switch the bottles, trying to switch the labels, but Marta actually did her job properly.
Yeah, so the full line goes, early in the movie while ranting about Ransom to Marta, Harlan says playing life like a game without consequences until you can't tell the difference between a stage prop and a real knife.
Mm-hmm.
Is the whole line.
Ransom basically tries to frame Marta.
Yeah.
And we get the whole scene
of what happened before and after.
And the little old lady basically sees, like, Ransom
climb up or climb down, and then
Fran, instead of saying you did this, she said Hugh did this.
Because
his first name is Hugh.
Because Ransom always made the help call him by his first real name,
Mm-hmm.
not by his middle name.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, if you name your son's middle name Ransom, there's something gonna be wrong with him. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
But you named his middle name Ransom.
And then Fran saw Ransom doing this. And so that's why she tried to... And earlier in the movie, we see that she has a stash of joints that she stashes in a clock. And that's where she stashed the actual
real
toxicology report.
Yeah.
That he was clear.
Oh, no. He made two, she made 2 copies. She was going to give one to him and blackmail him and then give it to him.
He burned it. He burned one of the...
He burned the copy.
Mm-hmm.
One. But I thought it was weird for the ransom letter. A, because it was a ransom letter, which that should have been given that it was ransom.
Mm-hmm.
And B, the page was torn and put into another envelope. So there was an envelope inside of the envelope.
Mm-hmm.
Which that should have given away that it was meant for someone else, and who was being blackmailed was blackmailing her.
Yeah. And, so then, basically Marta gets a call from the hospital saying that Fran is alive and awake, and she,
And Ransom admits to poisoning her and trying to kill her, and then Marta throws up on him.
And so
I'm sorry, if someone throws up on me, I'm going to throw right back up.
Yeah.
And
I don't even have, what is it called, emetophobia or whatever?
Yeah.
But that's so nasty. He keeps his composure, like, oddly well.
Like, and they were like, the hell? And Blanc's like, or no, the detective says she only throws up when she lies.
So we learned that Fran actually died, and so
Yes.
they can...
Arrest him.
Because Harlan's murder was suicide.
Yes, was completely a suicide.
Because his toxicology report was clean.
Yeah, so Marta, when Blanc tells him to hand her the morphine, she picks up the first one and then puts it back down and picks up the second one.
Mm-hmm.
She knows the difference between the 2 medications.
Mm-hmm.
So she gave him the correct medication.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that takes some skill. But she was also his doctor for years.
Which leads me to believe she's probably like 30.
Maybe. No, I think mid to late 20s.
So basically they needed
Ransom's confession.
In order to convict him of murder.
And he steals a
Because if Fran lived, he wouldn't have been convicted because
it would have been attempted and then arson and things like that. But with her murder, he did get charged with murder.
And then at the end, Linda has the letter and she puts the heat.
Or the lemon.
Yeah.
She put lemon juice on it. Like, she rubbed lemon juice on it and then did the fire. Which, if you look closely, her husband tried to do the same thing, but there's burn marks in it.
Mm-hmm.
Because he didn't do the lemon juice.
Mm-hmm.
And so...
He clearly has a black eye. And everybody's because I imagine that Linda probably... I don't know.
Punched him.
No,
she was reading the note outside.
I don't know why he has black eye. Maybe there's a deleted scene or something.
Maybe. Or she, like, accused him and punched him.
The whole family is standing outside and Marta comes out on the balcony and she's drinking out of the mug that says "My house, my rules."
My coffee.
And, it's her house now.
They are getting nothing.
No, as they shouldn't.
At all. And, like, Walt goes to her, like, in the hallway, like, behind, like...
At her house,
At her house, and, like, your parents are immigrants, but we have lawyers that could help you. She's like, well, Harlan left me everything, so your lawyers are my lawyers now. Thank you for that info. Mm-hmm. And he was like, that's not what I meant. I'm like, yeah, it was. You were trying to threaten her.
Yep.
You're a creepy old man, my dude.
So yeah, that is Knives Out 2019.
Yeah.
Overall, what are your thoughts?
I like it, but I love crime movies, like mystery movies. That's why I love Hitchcock's.
I love the way that this movie is laid out, and the way that this movie is structured. It really keeps you on your toes.
Like, I grew up watching the Perry Mason, like old school Perry Mason, and you can ask my mom this. I can always guess the killer in the first 5 minutes. I'm like, oh, it was that person. And then she would say, no, it's not. I'm like, yes, it is.
That's just knowing the formula in a show.
No, but this was when I was young. Like, this was when I was like 7, 8. I was doing it.
You're also a very good judge of character and very good at reading people.
Yeah. And so, but it was always, I knew who the killer was. It's the same thing with, like...
I kind of wish I saw this before I saw Glass Onion, because maybe watching Glass Onion for the second time, maybe I'll like it more.
No, I've heard it's completely different. I've heard that it's, even from, like, my mom, she said Glass Onion is completely different than Knives Out. And she loved Knives Out. But, like, that's why I love Hitchcock movies. It's because you're always guessing the killer. Mm-hmm. But, we were talking about, and we want your guys' input on this. What if for July, instead of Toy Month, we do before and after movies?
So we were thinking to do Cinderella through the ages. Thinking about touching on like some of the live action Disney movies.
Yeah,
versus
but I just don't want to do only Disney. We could do remakes as well. Like my mom was saying, there's 2 Rear Windows, and there's 2 Rebeccas. So we could do.
We could just do a whole month talking about, like, we could put a bunch in an episode. We could talk about, like, mystery movie remakes. We could talk about Disney movie remakes
and stuff like that.
If you guys are interested in that, let us know.
Or if you have any suggestions that aren't mystery movie or Disney movies, let us know, because usually Disney movies and mystery movies are the ones that get remade.
Next week we'll be covering Glass Onion.
Yes.
And then the week after that will be Scream 6.
Yes.
And yeah, we hope you guys are enjoying Mystery March. It's been really cool to get out of the MCU bubble.
And don't forget, we do have the limited edition Mystery March shirts on our...
Mystery March merch, as it's been
Mystery March merch.
That's really hard to say.
The Triple M. Do check out our merch. All of the proceeds will be going back into the podcast to buy like a better mic, to buy a better laptop, to buy better editing software.
The merch is 20% off and free shipping the whole month.
Yes, so go and buy the merch.
And we will have an exclusive design for when we cover Harry Potter as well.
And we will be having one when we cover Matrix.
I haven't figured out anything in between.
I mean, we really don't have... I mean, we could do... No.
The issue is we have to fight some copyrights. We have to like make our own wholly unique things.
Yeah, so like the Matrix will be having one where Light Spoils with that is going to have the Matrix Rain on it.
I create all of the merch with my bare hands.
Besides the Matrix one, which I'm working on currently.
So, if you guys are so inclined, there's a bunch of different... Obviously, there's no pressure, but we would love for somebody to buy our merch.
Yeah, just like one
We
person.
work really hard on it.
Yes.
Like, I can't tell you how many hours total I've worked on the Harry Potter shirt alone.
I think it was like a solid week.
I spent a long time on it.
Because you hand drew most of them.
Digitally, but yeah.
Yeah, but you know what I meant. Yeah, digitally you hand drew them.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Infinity Stones.
Mhm.
Or besides Oobleck.
So yeah, please go check out our merch. We have t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, aprons, stickers.
Everything. And also check out my Instagram. There's nothing on it yet.
Go follow his Spice Instagram.
Yes.
That sounded weird. And we will see you guys next week.
Bye.
If you would like to support this podcast, you can subscribe to our Patreon to gain access to bonus content and listen to each episode ad-free a whole day early. Go to thefanclubpodcast.myspreadshirt.com to get exclusive designs on t-shirts, sweatshirts, mugs, stickers, and many other items. We will even have limited edition designs in the very near future. Follow us on all of our social medias for updates and what we are working on in real time. We are part of the Needlessly Nerdy Entertainment Network. They are a conglomerate of podcasts and blogs that provide entertainment, news, and reviews of all things nerdy, including movies, TV, books, video games, tabletop games, cons, pop culture, and more. Go check out all the amazing shows and the network at needlesslynerdy.com.
Needlessly Nerdy, your source for all things nerdy.
www.needlesslynerdy.com.